We have reached the second half in NFL Survivor polls. Congratulations on having at least one entry still alive. We'll break down week 10 by analyzing the 7 games you should be considering, and it's coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, good to be back.
Welcome back, Michael. You had quite a fun time at the World Series, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to take a little break. I haven't got the new garb quite yet, but I missed being there with you. But Gary, you know what? He never disappoints.
Well,
So
yeah, well, I'm disappointed because his fantasy team beat mine. But that aside, let's talk about Week 10, and let's talk a little bit of reality before we get into the things, folks. It happens every year as a natural result of people losing and getting eliminated in the NFL Survivor polls. Our viewership drops in our NFL Survivor show. So we had a substantial drop last week. So at sometime soon we're probably going to focus most of our time on NFL DFS. However, we don't want to leave you hanging. So we will probably have a segment of our NFL DFS show, a much smaller segment, but talking about what our NFL Survivor pool pick for the week would be. Maybe our top 3 or 4 picks, given that some picks may have already been used. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. How long we do it depends on how long Survivor has its own show, depends on you. What is the views? What's the engagement? How many new subscribers we get out of each Survivor show? So if you want to fight for this show, smash the like button, share in the comments section who you like this week for NFL Survivor and why, and hit the red subscriber button. Well, Michael, shall we get into it? Week 10, the second half. We're coming out of halftime.
yeah,
All
tell
right.
us the lines for this week, if you would.
Yeah, the top 7 games we think you should be considering. 2 9.5 point favorites. Denver at home, 9.5 point favorites against Las Vegas on Thursday night. Buffalo is also 9.5 point favorites at Miami. We have Detroit, 8.5 point favorites at Washington, 2 6.5 point favorite teams. Indianapolis against Atlanta and Seattle, home against Arizona. Indianapolis is playing in Berlin. And Carolina, can you believe it? The Carolina Panthers are on this list. They're 4.5 point favorites at home against New Orleans, and Chicago's at home, 3.5 point favorites over the New York Giants. Michael, quick announcement. I refuse to list the New York Jets on the list. I know that they are favored by 1.5 points, but come on. If you guys are picking the Jets this week, come on. Now, you might go, well, I'm thinking of picking the Browns who play at the New York Jets. Both teams are coming up by. Good luck if you're going with either the Browns or the Jets. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm assuming you agree.
I completely agree. Stay away from that game.
All right, so the game I'd like to start with, you're the expert on it. The Las Vegas Raiders, can they play spoiler in Denver?
I think they can. Take away last year's sweep by Denver. The Raiders have had the Broncos number, including in Denver, right? And so I know it's a different team, it's a different set of coaches, which is impactful. But both coaches are improved. Brock Bowers is back; he's healthy. The Raiders should have won, or at least kept, or at least tied uh, against a decent Jacksonville team. Um, and Denver could have easily lost, against a okay Houston team on the road. But I don't think Bo Nix has really showed that he is sharp throughout. And the Raiders can play spoiler. And you and I, we get nervous about these Thursday night games. I think the Broncos should take care of business at home this week against a Raiders team that isn't that strong.
It's
Um,
it's
but
really interesting. It's interesting. You're right. We're nervous about the Thursday night game. I wonder if this might be a time where it's not too bad picking Denver on Thursday night, since the Raiders are coming off an overtime game. So they're coming off an overtime game and then coming on short rest. Denver's hot. I mean, they've won 6 games in a row. Problem is, you got to play your schedule, but they haven't been strong teams. They beat the 2 New York teams, a Burrowless Cincinnati and Dallas. Right? They did beat Philadelphia, but a lot of their wins have been weaker teams. Of course, Las Vegas is one of the weaker teams. I want to I want to just put a pin on this game. I'm intrigued because Denver has no future value. If you haven't picked Denver yet, you need to pick them now, right? Is the immediate reaction I have. But let's see the other games. Anything else on Denver?
No, I mean that defense is great. So I mean, I always like good defenses. So no, I think we've hit it well. Let's move on.
All right. So we've got Detroit 8.5 at Washington and Buffalo 9.5 at Miami. So two big favorites on the road, both teams that most people have already picked. But let's assume they have one of these teams available. Are either of these interesting to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Buffalo should not have too much of a problem even on the road with Miami, who has just not been able to figure things out. And Washington's, quarterback is injured, an ugly injury. McLaurin's still out, I think. Detroit had a rough loss, so you might be a little bit nervous about what's going on there. And these games are on the road, but I don't have either one of them. I don't think hardly any of our viewers do. And they both have a little bit of future value.
Yeah, I'm a little more comfortable with the Buffalo pick over the Detroit. The Detroit Lions, they're a team. We said last week that you just feel a lot more comfortable with them in the dome, and then they even lost against Minnesota in the dome last week. Mariota is decent. A backup in stepping in, and they basically haven't had McLaren all year. So, but I feel more comfortable with Buffalo. You do lose future value, which makes me lean toward Denver. If you have Denver and Buffalo, I would lean to pick Denver. But let's keep going. Um, let's talk about some of these 6.5 point favorite teams. We've got Indianapolis in playing in London against Atlanta. I don't want any part of that particular game. Why? Because I'm completely offended that you would even ask about Indianapolis. Because I told you 2 weeks ago, I'm not talking to you, Mike, I'm talking to the fans, that was the perfect pick, picking Indianapolis. Now, maybe you didn't pick them because you already picked Indianapolis by that time, but regardless, you shouldn't have Indianapolis available. So if you do, then you're not interested in anything I say anyway, because I told you should have picked them 2 weeks ago. But I'm not comfortable with this game. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's in Berlin. You just these international games kind of bring some interesting things. And did Indianapolis get a little exposed this last week? They didn't look great. And even though Atlanta has looked pretty bad the last few weeks, Drake London's back. They're using him well. I got to believe they're going to use Bijan Robinson again well, like they didn't this last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm nervous. Let's move on.
All right, so we got to spend a little time on my Seattle Seahawks. Playing again, they came into this season not as a bad team, right? They were a 10-win team last year, but they've made huge strides on the defensive side and starting to play really well offensively as well. So you would say I am intrigued at playing at home against Arizona. Again, a lot of people pick Seattle earlier, but more importantly, if you didn't pick Seattle, I think you got to wait on this one. My suggestion is wait till week 12 where they play at Tennessee. Look, I say it every week. Tennessee's the worst team in the NFL. So, in looking at week 12, I think Seattle is really the best option, especially if you've already picked Detroit for week 12. So, if you still have Seattle, my advice is save them.
Yeah, completely agree. Seattle did look really good this week, and they had a second half bye, which was nice, but it was a Monday night game. Sunday night game, sorry. But Arizona also looked pretty good this week. So yeah, save them.
Jacoby Brissett is the starter in Arizona. It looks like they're benching Kyler Murray. I've said I
I
don't think
like
it's
it. Good
a,
move.
a big. You like it?
Well, he just needs to be taught a lesson if he wants to be an NFL quarterback. So
Woo! All right. Now, usually we don't get this far down on the list
I'm
when
sure his
I
family
start
will
getting
be here.
excited and you have high pick popularity. But you do with Carolina, 4.5 point favorites at home against New Orleans. I have a strong opinion about this. I want to hear you first.
Carolina has looked really good the last several weeks, kind of out of nowhere, and New Orleans still hasn't figured things out, even with the change to Tyler Shuck at the quarterback position. So I understand why this is such a popular pick. Obviously, not a lot of future value with Carolina. So if you, especially in one of these, well, I guess the pick popularity is high, but if you're in one of these leagues where you need to take some risk, I kind of like this one this week, Eric.
Well, I'm thinking for people who may have already picked Denver, or maybe if you're not as comfortable with that Denver pick, this is a great alternative. I disagree with the lines makers here. 5.5, I feel far more confident that Carolina over. I think they're close to my confidence I have more so with than Indy 6.5 over Atlanta, maybe even more so than Seattle 6.5. Um, they're a much better team than this New Orleans team. These are two teams going in opposite directions. Carolina has won 4 of the last 5. They are looking to the playoffs. New Orleans is looking at next year. They've already gone to their rookie quarterback, Shuck, just a couple of hours ago. They just traded away one of their top wide receivers, Rashid Shaheed, for draft picks. So they got nothing in return for this year to Seattle. They've given up. They're 1-8. So I kind of like this in Carolina as a strong option, again, with Carolina having no future value. So we'll make our final calls in a minute. Any comments about this last game? Chicago at home against the New York Giants. Up and down New York Giants, but they keep losing key players.
Yeah, I know. This Scatterbo injury was a big deal. Obviously, the neighbor's injury was as well. Jackson Dart, he's been pretty exciting as a fantasy quarterback. And so has Caleb Williams, which is, I think, some of the temptation. They were able to survive the Swift injury with this other back who looks pretty good. Ben Johnson seems to be a pretty interesting offensive coordinator in addition to head coach. I think it seems like he's playing that role a little bit. Um, and they had that nice finish against Cincinnati. Oh my gosh, Cincinnati. So I can understand the temptation, but I don't know. I don't think I can trust Caleb Williams yet.
Yeah, I don't understand the argument to pick Chicago because to me, Carolina has the same lack of future value. So does Denver, and I know no one's picked Carolina yet. Between Carolina and Chicago, I feel more comfortable with Carolina. And so then, to me, I'll give you my top three. My top three are Denver, Buffalo, and Carolina. And I think most people will say, well, I have picked some of those games, some of those teams, most likely Buffalo. And then it becomes a choice between Denver and Carolina. Wow, that's a tough one for me. But my brain tells me Denver and my heart tells me Carolina. Usually go with my brain when it comes to picking with NFL Survivor.
So it is very tempting to go with Denver for me as well, but I'm a little nervous about that game, and I feel a little bit better about Carolina this week. And so I don't blame you if you go with Carolina over Denver.
If you had Buffalo still, would you pick Buffalo as your pick this week as opposed to Denver or Carolina?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I would. I just feel like that's more of a lock than those two games.
Hmm. Interesting. And you give up a little future
Yep.
value. They host Cincinnati in week 14, and they're at Cleveland in week 16. And remember, Right now, Buffalo is 6-2. The Patriots are 7-2. So when you're looking at Week 16, sometimes you go, well, will they have everything wrapped up? They most certainly will not have everything wrapped up. Those weeks will matter. So just to be a little contrarian, I would say even if Buffalo is available, I would save them. It's really hard for me. I'm gonna watch the latest news and try to determine, what can I glean any between Carolina and Denver. But if I had to put my pick in now, and I hate Thursday night games, hate them with a passion, I might lean to Denver. But I don't. I'm not mad at you if you take a chance with Carolina. We look forward to seeing you in week 11 in some capacity. Watch out for the news, and we'll inform you how our survivor coverage will be continuing in the future. All right. Have a great rest of your week. And once again, we really appreciate your support of this channel. Thank you very much. Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye bye.